think we're live. All right. Hey, everybody. I'm Josh McFall, the CEO here at the Huntsville Area Association of Realtors. Welcome to this week's HAAR Talks Live. Joined by a very special guest today from the National Association of Realtors, Andrew Barbar. Andrew, thanks for being with us today, man.
It's great to be here.
Andrew was our speaker at today's luncheon. It was so great to see so many of you there and on Zoom as well. We're glad to be back in person and seeing everybody again. It's a breath of fresh air.
It is. It's actually one of the best parts of 2022 is the fact that we actually get to see one another.
That's right.
I'm just surprised
you're in person.
I know. Yeah. I'm just surprised you're having me back after lunch. I'm not used to getting invited back.
Yeah, that's great.
After I speak.
So Andrew has served many roles around the association world, locally, state, and nationally. Yep. So tell us about kind of who you are, where you're from, what you do, all that kind of stuff.
So this month I end my 40th year as a realtor, so I'm excited about that. And
that means emeritus is on the way, right?
That's what they say, but more importantly, it is the greatest occupation, the greatest profession, the greatest family, and the opportunity that we have to make a difference, not only in the agents that I work with. We have 2 offices and about 400 agents that we get to work with every day, but more importantly, what we get to do for the buyers and sellers. Nobody comes to this country or is born wanting to be a renter. It's the American dream is to own your home. And we learned in 2020, in March of 2020, we all learned that home took a little different meaning. And since then, we thought the world was going to end in our profession, and quite frankly, it's sort of gone crazy over the last 2 years.
It's been one of the most important, I think, professions around. People need realtors now more than ever.
Yeah, and the neat part is we get to play a role in that, and we are the central figure in that experience. So I love our profession.
It's a great feeling to be involved with that. So you've served, I know, at your local level as president and in many roles as Florida Realtors president in 2015, is that right?
Yeah, I did our local presidency in the 03-04. I did our MLS in 05 and state president of Florida in 2015 and regional vice president for our region for NAR last year.
So for those that don't know, NAR is kind of split into regions and each has a vice president. So we're in Region 5, so it's Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, Florida, Virgin Islands,
and Puerto
Rico. Yeah.
Was that a test to see if I could remember them all?
I should have let you go through that. That's right,
But you were doing great.
Put the PP on the spot, yeah. So, and did a great job representing us on the executive committee, so thank you for all that. And then this year, you're here in town today to talk about Realtor Party Success and RPAC because you're serving as a long title this year.
Well, the Realtor Party Disbursements Liaison.
So what does a Realtor Party Disbursements Liaison do?
Well, the fun part, I thought I was going to get a safe with gold bullion, but apparently we don't have that. I'm just joking. So the liaison oversees the 4 disbursement committees.
Okay.
So there are different programs that we have where we support either ballot initiatives or candidates, both at the federal, state, and local level, and there are different groups that oversee those grants. And I have the opportunity to be the connection between those committees and the leadership team.
And I actually serve on one of your committees.
You do.
So a little bit of inside baseball. The candidate services. It used to be called local and state.
It used to be state and local trustees. Yeah. It's now the Realtor Party Trustees for Campaign Services. It's a pretty long title.
You should have tested me on that. Right?
I was going to, but all in full disclosure, I chaired that group 3 years ago in 2020. Actually, I chaired that group, and it took me about the year before, it took me all through my year as chair to remember the name, because they changed it.
And that's fair.
Yeah.
We were commiserating because we read a lot as a committee. We read all the applications that come through, but it's really rewarding.
Well, there's a lot of work, and thank you for being on the committee.
It's an honor this year.
It is an honor, but it's also where there's a right, there's a responsibility, and that committee it's literally a 10-page application for every single grant that goes out. And last year alone, we did over 205 grants out of that one committee.
That's incredible.
So it's a lot of reading.
I know Sean's sitting off to the side here, but Sean and Danielle, our advocacy team, have applied for several of those and won some big grants for local
Yeah.
races as well. So it's great benefit
Yeah.
locally. All right, let's jump in here.
Great.
We've got some questions I want to talk to you about. So when the pandemic struck, realtor advocacy redoubled its already impressive influence on a national, state, and local level. So in your opinion, tell me some standout victories on the national level that were scored by NAR and RPAC.
Well, the biggest one I can think of is the fact that we had a big push nationally, and we weren't successful 100%, but most states and municipalities we were essential. That was a huge step. We also had payroll protection program, and also not only for companies, but for us as independent contractors, qualifying for the unemployment, which was the first time in our history.
That was huge for our local members here.
So that was, I would say that was one of the biggest things. Help secured $50 billion in assistance for landlords and tenants, for the mom and pop landlords specifically. And then we had continued work, and thank you to the states of Alabama and Georgia to end the moratorium on evictions.
Yeah, that was a big win. If you haven't followed that along, I'm sure you've all seen, but in our circuit court then went to the Supreme Court and overturned that moratorium, which helped the whole country. You know,
we were talking earlier, there's an African saying that if you want to go fast, go alone, and if you want to go far, go together. And the Realtor Party is an opportunity for us to go far if and when we decide to go together. And so that's the importance of us hanging together and sticking together.
I love that saying. That's great. So those are some victories. Tell me about what are our priorities as a national association moving forward in 2022?
Well, we had the Build Back Better, say that 10 times fast, that was passed. And when it was first came on the scene, some of the funding came out of limiting 1031 exchanges and opportunity zones and limiting the deductions for real estate investments, which would have crippled our commercial industry.
Right.
And so we were able to get that removed, and it took a year. That was a huge lift. So in 2022, that's still something that we need to protect.
It's still an education ongoing for lawmakers, right? To even
Very
understand
much
the
so.
benefits of that.
Yeah.
I know our advocacy team in DC does a great job at sitting down with lawmakers, helping them understand how that means to the everyday, either purchaser or property owner as well.
And the second thing is that locally around the country, everyone has their local issues that we want to support and help them to support. Realtors are great at grassroots. And then finally, we want to make sure that we're continuing to elect and re-elect those who recognize the importance that we play. Yeah,
because a lot of the majority of RPAC money actually stays locally in the state much more than it does on a national
It does,
level.
And it's actually more important, those decisions made at city council meetings and county meetings actually affect us a lot more than things that happen in Washington, but things that happen in Washington also affect us in a big way. So.
Yeah, it's a great plug for our local political coordinator program. We have realtors that are, as we do on a federal level, have political coordinators that speak to our lawmakers in Washington. We have local realtors here in our market that speak directly to city councilmen and mayors and school board members, et cetera, to kind of keep a pulse on those local issues and can be their voice. You can read more about that at haar.realtor.com/LPC if you want to learn more.
And if I can just add to that, finances are great to have the money to support, but what means more than anything else is the relationship that we have with our elected officials, and that is what we do and you do individually every single day, and so that's so important.
It is definitely a huge benefit for us and our LPCs, keeping in contact with our governmental affairs team, making sure that our board can be at the table as a part of those conversations. So speaking of RPAC, we know that RPAC means a more positive career outlook for members, a better shot at the American dream of home ownership for everybody, which is why we're doing that. Tell me about, speak to what do you mean stronger together mentality that makes the Realtor Party success? You mentioned that at lunch today. You mentioned the proverb a minute ago.
Yeah, so it's a recognition that we're not only for buyers, sellers, investors. We also and for our profession, but we're also for those who aspire to be a homeowner and a landowner. And so we truly, you know, I were mentioning earlier that nobody ever, you know, came to this country or was born wanting to be a tenant. The American dream is to own property, and we have the ability to do that, and we want to make sure that we protect that. And so if we're making sure that we're speaking with one voice, the National Association is the voice of real estate, then our PAC and the Realtor Party is the megaphone to transmit that message. And so we just need to make sure that we're doing it together and speaking with one voice.
Absolutely, it does, especially hearing how those national level policies and kind of what we're working for on a national level will directly impact us on a local level.
Yeah.
So Andrew works in the South Florida market. You're in
Yes.
the Palm Beaches, right?
Yes.
Our neighbors.
Palm Beach County.
Our neighbors to the
Florida.
south. So what's your market like? How are you staying ahead? What's
So
going on down there?
our market is just like your, actually not quite as hectic as your market. We have a month, we have 6 weeks supply, and I think you have actually 5 weeks supply. I just learned that you have less than 2 weeks supply, so we're not quite as. However, the reality is it's not that we have fewer homes to sell. We sold just as many homes in 20 as we did in 21, and we're on pace in 22. However, the speed, the velocity of our transactions is where the stress has come in. And so
I like that take on it, you know, thinking about that it's just moving faster than that. We did those numbers just a minute ago in 2020 and 2021, 500 more homes in 21. So basically the same when you look at almost 10,000 homes sold.
And that's where the exhaustion, that's why we all feel so tired, is because we're running so hard, so fast, and we cannot stop for a second or else we'll lose that opportunity.
Right.
And so it's just to understand, we have to understand what's going on around us so that we can protect ourselves and protect our businesses, and have a lot more to talk about that, although I think we're out of time. But
how do you stay ahead of that hustle? I know you got how many agents?
We have 400 in
400.
our organization.
Okay. So how do you keep all those folks motivated, and what's some advice you'd give our members?
Oh, that's a really good question. So the folks that do really well are the ones, so I'm going to give a plug for Pat Lencioni, who's written two of the most important books. The number one most important book in business, second to the Bible for me, is a book, The 5 Dysfunctions of a Team.
It's on my bookshelf over there.
And it's an awesome book. Well, he wrote a follow-up to that just came out, The Perfect Team Player, or The Ideal Team Player.
I haven't read that
And
yet.
so in that book, he talks about someone who is humble, who's hungry, and who's smart. And you don't take that for, you have to read the book to understand what he means by those. But it's a great, you know, when somebody really is, it's not all about them. And then also making sure that they're educated in their skill level, because the way I look at the real estate market, it's a dartboard. And it's a dartboard that moves in size. So, you know, in a seller's market, it may be, you know, a large dartboard or a small dartboard. In a buyer's market, a huge dartboard. Mm-hmm. But if we can hit that little red dot in the middle, then we really don't care how big the dartboard is, right? So it now becomes down to skill. So how can we hone our skills so that we can be the very best? And if we're the very best, we're going to get our share. So we want to be good to get our unfair share, and that's how we can be successful. And we've had great success with doing that.
Fantastic. It's a great segue too, into me talking about that we've got some great training opportunities coming up at the association, one of which is on the 15th. I hope you all have heard about this, but we've got Jim Lawrence coming out of retirement, along with Bob McMillan, to teach a RECAD point-counterpoint class. Always a good time to watch us two argue on stage. We're also launching a new website for our education offerings, where you can go and search for education as you want it, either on demand, online, Zoom, or in person. However, it's HAAR Estate. It'll launch on Monday, so we're excited about that. You can find all the information on our website about that. Love for you to join us at events this month. We have a happy hour coming up next month as well, so make sure you read the weekly report every Saturday and Monday, and you can find news anytime at HAAR.Realtor. Andrew, you're coming to the party tonight, right? Major investor party. So
I am.
You're coming to a major investor event. You can meet Andrew and
And I would look
hanging.
forward to seeing you. Please, where is the?
It's at Cotton Row, right in downtown from 5 to 8. So if you're interested in being a major investor or want to learn more or just hang out with Andrew and I,
Well,
you
yeah,
can
I
come
would.
tonight.
I would more say you want to be a major investor than hang out with me, but.
We look forward to seeing you. Andrew, great to have you here today.
Oh, it's my
Appreciate you
pleasure.
being with us.
Thank you very much.
We'll see you next week.